Welcome to this online training for Zoom facilitators and instructors. This training video will walk you through how to set up Zoom for different purposes, the settings you need to know in your Zoom account, and how to use the tools and features of the Zoom client app. Each of you may use Zoom a little differently, so I will give you some different options to consider depending on your use. A book club with a group of members who know each other and like to visit and interact as a part of the class experience will operate differently than will a simple lecture. And yet another class might utilize polls, hand raising, and other engagement features that engage participants and measure feedback. The recommendations I'm going to make here assume that you are using the Zoom account to present classes, and my recommendations here focus on preventing unwanted participant interaction while still allowing changes within the meeting when you need to. Let's start with the internet connection. You have to have enough bandwidth or you simply can't use any video streaming tool. Speed is measured in megabits per second. It's kind of like miles per hour, and Zoom says you need a bare minimum of 3 megabits up, meaning your stream going to the cloud, and 3 megabits down, meaning the stream that you're receiving from everyone else. That's not much, but that means you need 3 megabits of solid internet bandwidth after every other device that's on your network. So if someone in your house or on your network is streaming Netflix at the same time you're leading a class, then you'll need enough bandwidth for both Netflix and Zoom working at the same time. I highly recommend that if at all possible that you use a wired connection, sometimes called an Ethernet connection, not Wi-Fi. Wired connections are far more stable and often much faster than Wi-Fi. An Ethernet cable looks a lot like a little phone cable, but the connector itself is slightly bigger. Your laptop may not have an Ethernet port, but there are USB adapters available. You can measure your speed at speedtest.net. You should run the test at several different times of the day over a period of 3 days to get an average speed. Generally, your internet provider won't guarantee the speeds you pay for on a household account. If your neighbors are all streaming movies during your Zoom meeting, your internet speeds may suffer. My personal recommendation is a minimum of 5 megabits per second for your Zoom meeting. A solid 5 megabits per second will mean a good quality picture with no freezing or stuttering, and your picture and voice will stay in sync. Let's dig into the settings that you want to know ahead of time and want to set up ahead of time. Go to zoom.us and sign into your account. Click My Account at the upper right to open your account page. In the Personal section, go to Settings. This is a long page of settings that's broken into 3 sections: Schedule Meeting, In-Meeting Basic, and the next section is In-Meeting Advanced. What I want to cover here are some default settings that make classes safer, meaning participants can't start screen sharing and doodling on the screen during your presentation, and also easier to start because your default settings are already set. You will be able to make changes to many of these settings both when you schedule a meeting and during a meeting if you need to adapt for a different type of meeting or change your focus during a meeting. Let's start by looking at the Schedule Meeting page. In the Schedule Meeting section, make sure to toggle off Use Personal Meeting ID, or the PMI, when scheduling a meeting. Never share your personal meeting number publicly. Treat it like a personal phone number. Anyone who has this number may be able to interrupt your private meetings. So for public meetings, always use a generated number. If you're going to use a password, you can save your participants a step by toggling on Embed Password and Link here near the top in the Schedule Meetings section. As we'll discuss shortly, there isn't normally a need to use a password, but this is a good default position. Finding and typing in passwords during the login procedure is probably the #1 support issue if those passwords are not embedded. If you'd like a reminder about upcoming meetings, toggle upcoming meeting reminder to on. You can change the time in the Zoom app in settings. Let's move down to the in meetings basic settings. There are some great interactive features in this section. If you're presenting a lecture, consider using chat for questions and answers and general comments. You can save the chat stream for later review. You'll find it in the reports section of your account. Enable co-host so you can promote someone to help with your meeting if you use a producer or facilitator. A co-host has the same access to the tools and settings as does the host. Enable polling if you would like to engage or measure audience feedback. You can create polling questions ahead of your meeting and launch them at will. It's a great way to engage your audience. Turn on screen sharing and set it to host only. Turn on nonverbal feedback and give participants a way to respond to your questions and give you other feedback. These show up as colored icons next to names in the participants window. As a host, you can see how many participants have clicked that icon, and the icon will appear beside their name. You can clear all icons at once or individually by participant. In the in-meeting advanced section, enable group HD video if you have the bandwidth. During periods of extremely high use, like during this pandemic, Zoom may disable this feature. Enable virtual background, and participants can hide ugly backgrounds with scenes of the beach. This is more useful in your organization meetings with experienced users. Enable show a join from your browser link to allow participants who are joining your meeting from a shared or public computer where they can't download the Zoom app for some reason. The Chrome browser is the only recommended browser, and many features are not available if joining a meeting from a browser. Now that we have some default settings selected, let's go through the process of scheduling a new meeting. Go to Meetings, Schedule a Meeting. Enter a title and a description if you wish. Add the date and time, and make sure that your time zone is set correctly. Double check that the Generate Automatically option for your meeting ID is enabled. Turn off Require Meeting Password. Email the invitation to your class participants and don't post it on social media. That is as effective as a password with less hassle. If you are going to broadcast the meeting publicly, consider using the registration function and the waiting room, and then be prepared to boot any disruptors who enter the room. The waiting room is your decision based on your class function. If your students know each other and you want to let them visit before class, leave it off and turn on Enable Join before the host. That way they can say hi to each other and maintain their in-class relationships during this isolation period we're going through. If you want to enter your meeting room before anyone else is in there, prepare your room and then admit people when you're prepared, use the waiting room option. When you're ready, you can let people in all at once or one at a time, a great way to double check who is entering your class. You can turn waiting room on or off from the security options after you start a class. Enabling the waiting room can help prevent unauthorized entry, but you'll have to manually admit latecomers who will otherwise be stuck in the waiting room until you let them in. Remember though, if you've controlled the distribution of your meeting ID to an email list, you shouldn't need to be too concerned about Zoom bombers. Once you've created a meeting, you can save it as a template. You can create different templates for different situations, just name them descriptively. Next time you schedule a practice, choose a template, add a date and time, and you're ready to go. Once you've scheduled a meeting, you can always go to Meetings, Upcoming Meetings, select a meeting, and edit the details. Now let's talk about the basics of running a meeting. When you need to mute everyone's audio, open the Manage Participants window and click Mute All. Then make sure to deselect allow participants to unmute themselves. Then click OK. You can unmute everyone all at once or by participant by hovering over their name. Newcomers will also be automatically muted if you follow those steps. Make the instructor or featured speaker's video big and front and center for everyone with the Spotlight feature. After 3 people are in the room, you can click the speaker's video feed from the gallery view and select Spotlight Video. This option will only show up after at least 3 people are in the room. This is different than the pin video feature, which is a way for a particular participant to enlarge a video for their personal screen. Spotlight, only accessible by the host, makes the primary speaker's video large and prevents the video from bouncing around to different participants during the meeting. You can cancel the Spotlight feature at any time by clicking the Cancel Spotlight button on the video. You can turn off a participant's video feed from the participants window, but only one at a time. Hover over the participant's name and then select Turn Off Video. They cannot turn it back on without the host's permission. Here's a few miscellaneous Zoom hints and tricks. From a meeting, click the up arrow next to the Stop Start Video button, then click Video Settings. Select Video on the left side, then select Enable HD, Touch Up My Appearance, and Spotlight My Video when I speak. These settings are persistent and will remain the same the next time you start a meeting. When you email the invitation to your students, include a reminder that others will be able to see and hear them if using Zoom meetings. That'll help prevent your participants from embarrassing themselves and you from the resulting blowback. Finally, let's talk about using a meeting facilitator and/or producer. A Zoom meeting is easy enough for a presenter to handle, but you may want to consider adding a co-host or facilitator. You can assign a co-host to monitor chat for important questions or feedback. You might also need help with polls and the waiting room, or even want to assign someone to advance PowerPoint slides. All of these things can really help free a presenter from interruptions and enable them to concentrate on their presentation. If possible, include instructions and a contact number for help in your confirmation email. This will help facilitate people who are having problems in logging into your meeting. Zoom is updating their app frequently, so you may find things change since this video. But I hope this video helps you with your Zoom meetings in the future. Please subscribe below, click the little bell to be notified when we post new videos, and thank you so much for watching.